Hi everyone, I'm Ed Orcutt, your state representative from the 18th District. I represent portions of Cowlitz and Clark counties, including Camas, Washougal, Salmon Creek, Battleground, Ridgefield, and LaCenter, up through Woodland, Kalama, and Toutle to the county line. I'm reporting to you from the 2011 legislative session here in Olympia. The majority in the House passed a spending proposal this week to try and address the nearly $600 million shortfall in the state budget for the remainder of this fiscal year, which ends June 30th. Unfortunately, this so-called early action bill fails to take action on many items which, if addressed now, would lay the foundation for the next biennial budget, which currently looks to outspend revenue by $4.6 billion. Also, serious attempts to write a sustainable budget should not push spending into the next biennium while claiming it as savings today. One proposal is to push over $250 million into the next biennium to balance the current budget. At best, this is questionable accounting. And of greater concern, what happens if next biennium's revenue fails to materialize like we expect? We end up with another unsustainable budget in the next biennium. This proposal is unsustainable and fails to prioritize and reform state government. We need to eliminate entire programs in the next two-year operating budget, so why not do it now and capture those savings starting now? Why pay for programs today that we can't afford tomorrow? We must use this as an opportunity to reduce the size of government rather than simply chipping away at programs until they become completely ineffective, but still costing us money. It also disturbs me that their proposal relies on retroactively taking money away from schools. I spoke against this idea on the House floor. Here's some of that debate. But the underlying bill, Mr. Speaker, does cut from education, and it cuts it retroactively. And that is a huge concern for me, is retroactive cuts. What we would be doing if we allowed the retroactive cuts to stand and failed to pass this amendment, what we would be doing is we would be balancing our budget on the backs of the school districts. So what we would be saying is, oh, we didn't make any mistakes here in the state legislature. Apparently, school districts made the mistake, because we're going to be forcing the responsibility onto them instead of taking responsibility for our budgeting. We're going to force them, with the underlying bill, to go back and pay us back money we paid them. I kind of wonder, Mr. Speaker, if an employer did that to an employee, there would be outrage on the floor of this House. If a business got in trouble and an employer said, oh, every dollar that I've paid you as an employee back to September, you have to pay me back because the business is in trouble. That doesn't really make sense, Mr. Speaker, and wouldn't be appropriate. But isn't that exactly what we're telling the schools to do? And where's the money going to come from, Mr. Speaker? They've already hired the teachers. They've already been paying the teachers. They've already been paying the bills based on that money that was appropriated. Now we're going to say, no, you have to pay that back to us? Remember, this is money that has already been budgeted and in some cases already been used to hire teachers. If they take this money away now, it will remove teachers from classrooms, punish school districts for budgeting responsibly, and continue a theme of broken promises that the majority has perpetuated in past budgets. Instead, I joined my House Republican colleagues in proposing a striking amendment, a substitute to the proposal in front of us on the House floor, that would have reduced spending by completely eliminating certain entitlement programs. Simply put, our solution begins the process of sustainable, accountable, and transparent budgeting. We're willing to make the necessary decisions to eliminate entire programs because we understand it puts us in a much better position heading into the next two-year operating budget. I introduced legislation in Olympia this week that would place familiar taxpayer protections into the state constitution. The requirement for a two-thirds vote of the legislature to raise taxes had been consistently approved by the voters in recent years. In fact, last November, Initiative 1053 was approved by voters statewide by nearly 64%. I believe it's time we end this tax increase tug of war that finds desperate legislators warring with voters over tax increases year after year. The majority party in Olympia overturned the Taxpayer Protection Act last year and raised taxes simply because they could. It's clear the temptation to raise taxes instead of resetting state government is too great for some to resist. This led to a devastating delay in implementing the real solutions needed for sustainable budgeting last session. As a result, I believe we need to implement strong constitutional protections when it comes to raising taxes in order to restore trust in government and provide accountability and sustainability with our budgets moving forward. My proposal, House Joint Resolution 4213, places the 2/3 vote requirement into the state constitution, thus eliminating the legislature's ability to amend the law after only 2 years, which they have done numerous times. Unless we heed the will of the voters, who have made it abundantly clear time and time again that they want it to be difficult to raise taxes and that it be a last resort, then our budgets will continue down a roller coaster path of uncertainty. I hope you'll continue to contact me with your thoughts and ideas throughout the session on how we can balance our budget and help get people back to work. I also want to encourage you to call me with your questions and opinions about the budgets or other legislative matters. You can use my direct line at 360-786-7812. Again, that's 360-786-7812. You can use the toll-free hotline or send a message by email. And don't forget to check my webpage for news. And while you're on my webpage, you can sign up to receive my weekly e-newsletter. Again, I want to thank you for joining me. I'm Ed Orcutt, your state representative in the 18th District.